There is someone who still thinks about you more often than you realize, even if there has been silence between you, even if life has taken both of you in different directions. Today, we're going to look into why your energy still lingers in their mind, what they've come to understand about this connection, and what they may be feeling but haven't said out loud. Before we begin, take a moment to connect with your person. If you'd like, gently close your eyes and think about them. You can even say their name softly in your mind 3 times. This helps me tune into their energy as I shuffle and pull the cards. Since this is a collective reading, not every message will resonate with everyone. Take what feels true for you and simply leave the rest. And remember, these readings are timeless. So whenever this message finds you, trust that there may be something here meant for you to hear today. For today's reading, we'll begin by pulling a card to understand the overall energy of your person right now. Then we'll go deeper into their thoughts and emotions to see what still reminds them of you, what they're feeling after distance, and why your energy still lingers in their mind. And toward the end of the reading, we'll also pull a couple of cards to see what guidance your angels have for you regarding this connection. So let's begin today's reading by looking at the main energy surrounding your person right now. The main energy coming through is the workaholic card connected to the blue chakra. This immediately tells me that this person has been keeping themselves extremely busy, almost to the point of distraction. The blue chakra relates to communication, expression, and truth. So what this suggests is that instead of speaking about what they truly feel, they may have thrown themselves into work, responsibilities, or daily routines. Some people do this when they are trying to avoid emotional processing. They fill their time, they stay productive, they stay occupied, because the moment things get quiet, their mind goes back to certain memories, and very often, those memories involve you. For some of you, this person may genuinely be very career-focused. But for others, work has also become a way for them to escape their own thoughts. When someone throws themselves into productivity like this, it's often because something emotionally unresolved is sitting underneath, and with the blue chakra showing up here, communication is a key theme. There may be things they never said, things they replay in their mind, things they wish they had expressed differently. So their overall energy right now feels busy on the outside, but mentally and emotionally, you still occupy space in their thoughts. Now let's look at what still reminds them of you. The first card we have is the 6 of Swords. The 6 of Swords often speaks about distance, moving away from something emotionally heavy, sometimes physical distance, sometimes emotional distance. So one of the things that reminds them of you is actually the period when things started to shift between the two of you, when something changed, when things became quieter, when conversations became less frequent, or when one of you had to move forward in a different direction. It's interesting because this card doesn't show forgetting, it shows transition, meaning that even if they tried to move forward, that process itself keeps reminding them of the connection. Now we clarify this with the 2 of Pentacles. The 2 of Pentacles is juggling energy. trying to balance multiple responsibilities, emotions, or priorities. So what this suggests is that while they may have been trying to focus on other areas of life, work, responsibilities, daily routines, part of their mind still drifts back to you. You might notice this if you think about how people sometimes function. They're doing something practical, working, commuting, running errands, and suddenly a memory surfaces. A place you visited together, a song, a conversation, or even something small like a phrase you used to say. The Two of Pentacles suggests their mind still moves back and forth like this, trying to stay grounded in the present while occasionally drifting into memories connected to you. And the Osho card here is healing. This is important because it shows that those memories are not only about longing, they're also about emotional processing. Something about the connection with you triggered growth. It may have exposed vulnerabilities or highlighted emotional patterns they had to face. Sometimes when people look back on someone they shared a deep connection with, the memories come with a mixture of emotions, nostalgia, reflection, and sometimes gratitude for the lessons. So what reminds them of you isn't just the good moments. It's also the transformation that happened during the connection. You were part of a chapter in their life that helped them see themselves differently. And that's the kind of memory that doesn't fade easily. So clearly, certain memories connected to this relationship still surface from time to time, but memories alone don't explain why someone keeps thinking about a person. There's usually something deeper underneath that. So let's go a little further and see what they still feel for you emotionally. The first card we have here is the Eight of Swords. This card tells me that their feelings toward you are complicated. There is still emotional energy there, but it feels restricted, almost like they have placed limits around their own thoughts. The Eight of Swords is a card of mental loops, thinking about something, replaying it, questioning it, and sometimes feeling stuck inside those thoughts. So, emotionally, you may still appear in their mind during those reflective moments, especially when they're alone. When distractions stop, this is the kind of energy where someone might suddenly think, did I handle that the right way? Could things have been different? What would have happened if we had tried again? These thoughts don't always come from longing alone. Sometimes they come from unresolved questions. Now we clarify this with the Six of Wands, and this adds an interesting layer. The Six of Wands is a card of recognition, validation, pride. So part of what they still feel toward you is admiration. They may still see you as someone who stood out in their life, someone memorable, someone they respected. For some of you, they may even check in on your life from a distance, seeing how you're doing, not necessarily reaching out, but quietly observing. Because the Six of Wands can sometimes represent someone wanting to know how things turned out for the other person. Did they succeed? Did they move on? Are they happy? So emotionally, there is still recognition there. You are not easily forgotten. Now we also have the Miser card showing up here. This card often represents someone holding on to something internally, keeping emotions contained, guarded. The miser doesn't release easily. They protect what they have inside. And emotionally, this suggests that this person may still hold certain feelings about you, but they keep them private. They don't necessarily express them openly. They keep them within their own emotional world. For some people, this happens when pride is involved. or when vulnerability feels uncomfortable. So instead of sharing what they feel, they hold it quietly, which means the emotional energy doesn't disappear, it simply stays contained. And when emotions are contained like that, they often return to the mind again and again, which is part of why they still think about you. So we can already see that there are still thoughts and emotions connected to this relationship. Memories are present. Feelings may still exist beneath the surface, but distance also changes people's perspective. Sometimes being apart from someone allows them to see the connection differently. So let's go a little deeper and see what they realized after distance came into this connection. The first card we have here is the Ten of Wands. The Ten of Wands often represents emotional weight, responsibility, carrying something heavy for a long period of time. So one of the realizations that may have come through for this person after distance is just how much emotional pressure was surrounding the situation. Sometimes when people are inside a connection, they don't fully understand the weight of what's happening. They're reacting in the moment, responding to circumstances. But once distance happens, everything slows down. And that's when reflection begins. This person may have realized that things between the two of you became heavier than either of you expected. There may have been external pressures, life circumstances, timing issues, or emotional burdens that neither of you knew how to carry properly at the time. And the Ten of Wands can also represent regret around how much pressure built up within the connection. Because sometimes people realize after distance that things didn't have to become that heavy, that certain things could have been handled differently. Now we clarify this with Justice. Justice is a card of truth, accountability, and seeing things clearly. So another realization that may have come to this person after distance is a deeper understanding of fairness within the situation. They may have replayed certain moments and asked themselves difficult questions. Was I fair? Did I listen properly? Did I take responsibility for my part? Justice often brings a moment of honest reflection where someone begins to see the situation from both perspectives, not just their own. And sometimes that realization can be uncomfortable because it requires acknowledging mistakes or recognizing things they didn't fully understand at the time. So distance may have brought them a clearer sense of balance, a clearer understanding of what the connection truly meant and what their role was within it. We also have the completion energy showing up here. This card speaks about cycles closing, lessons integrating, and understanding something at a deeper level. So another realization that may have come through for this person is that the connection with you marked the end of a certain chapter in their life. Not necessarily the end of feelings, but the end of a particular phase of growth. Sometimes people meet someone who changes the way they see relationships or the way they see themselves. And even if the relationship doesn't continue in the same form, the lesson remains. That chapter becomes part of their emotional evolution. And we also see the participation energy present here. Participation is about engagement, being present, showing up fully. So one of the deeper reflections this person may have had after distance is recognizing how much presence matters within a relationship, how much attention, effort, and emotional involvement shape the outcome of a connection. Sometimes these realizations only arrive after something has already shifted, after time has passed, after distance has created space to truly reflect. So what we're seeing here is someone who has spent time reflecting on the weight of the connection and the role they played within it. Distance has likely brought them a clearer perspective. But even with that clarity, something about this connection still lingers. So let's take a look at why they may still find it difficult to fully let you go. The first card we have here is the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups is one of the clearest indicators of genuine emotion. It represents the beginning of deep feelings, emotional openness, and the kind of connection that touches the heart in a meaningful way. So one of the reasons this person may find it difficult to fully let you go is because the emotions they experienced with you were real. This wasn't something superficial. It wasn't just a passing attraction. The Ace of Cups suggests that at some point in this connection, their heart was truly involved. And when someone experiences that level of emotional openness with another person, it leaves a lasting imprint. Even if circumstances change, even if distance happens, those emotions don't simply disappear. They become part of a person's emotional memory. Now we clarify this with the Lovers. The Lovers is a powerful card when it comes to meaningful connections. It represents alignment, choice, and sometimes the recognition that a connection carries deeper significance. So another reason this person may struggle to fully release the connection is because on some level they may have recognized that what existed between you had the potential to be something important. The Lovers can also represent moments where two people feel an unusual level of understanding or connection, where conversation flows easily, where there is emotional and mental resonance. And those types of connections tend to stay in a person's mind long after distance occurs. Now, we also have the Six of Wands appearing again here. When a card repeats or appears again in a clarifying position, it often reinforces a theme. The Six of Wands is about recognition, admiration, seeing someone in a positive light. So this suggests that this person may still hold you in high regard. They may still see you as someone significant in their life story, someone who stood out, someone who left an impression, even if they don't express that openly. And we also have the Ordinariness card appearing here. This is a very interesting energy, because ordinariness speaks about appreciating the simple, everyday aspects of life, the quiet moments, the natural rhythm of being with someone. So what this may suggest is that part of what they struggle to let go of is not just the emotional intensity of the connection, but also the normal moments you shared, the everyday conversations, the comfortable silence, the small routines. Sometimes those simple moments are the ones people remember the most, because they represent what life felt like when things were calm, when things felt natural, and when someone looks back and realizes how rare it is to feel that kind of ease with another person, it can make the connection even harder to release. So the energy here suggests that this connection wasn't just emotionally meaningful. It also carried a sense of familiarity, a sense of natural connection, and those are the kinds of bonds that tend to stay in a person's memory for a long time. So what we're seeing here is that the emotional foundation of this connection was quite real. There were genuine feelings, there was recognition, and there may have been moments where the connection simply felt natural and easy. But sometimes the most difficult part of a connection isn't what people felt, it's what they never said. So let's go a little deeper and see what this person may secretly wish they could say to you now. The first card we have here is the Three of Pentacles. The Three of Pentacles often speaks about cooperation, working together, building something through shared effort. So one of the things this person may secretly wish they could say is connected to the idea of teamwork within the relationship. They may have come to realize that relationships require participation from both people, effort, communication, a willingness to understand each other. Sometimes people only fully recognize the value of that cooperation after distance has already happened. The Three of Pentacles can represent the realization that a connection had the potential to grow if both people were able to meet each other halfway. So part of what they may wish they could say is something along the lines of, maybe we could have worked through this together. Maybe we could have built something stronger if we had approached things differently. This card often reflects hindsight, looking back and recognizing the value of collaboration within a relationship. Now we clarify this with death. Death is one of the most misunderstood cards in tarot. It doesn't represent literal endings. It represents transformation, the closing of one chapter and the beginning of another. So what this person may secretly wish they could express is the recognition that the connection between you triggered deep change within them. Sometimes people meet someone who becomes a turning point in their life, someone who shifts the way they see relationships, or the way they understand themselves emotionally. And even if the connection itself didn't continue in the same form, the transformation remains. They may wish they could say that meeting you changed something within them, that the experience of knowing you forced them to grow, to evolve, to confront parts of themselves they hadn't faced before. And we also have several energy cards appearing here: friendliness, transformation, and new vision. Together, these energies tell a very interesting story. Friendliness speaks about connection that feels easy, natural, two people who genuinely enjoy each other's presence. Sometimes relationships begin from that place of simple comfort, where conversation flows naturally and being together feels effortless. Transformation, which echoes the message of the Death card, reinforces that something about this connection acted as a catalyst for change. It pushed emotional growth, it shifted perspectives, and it may have altered the way this person approaches relationships moving forward. And finally, we have new vision. This energy often appears when someone begins to see things differently after a period of reflection. So what this person may secretly wish they could say is that their perspective on the connection has changed over time. Distance may have allowed them to see things from a different angle, to understand certain moments more clearly, to recognize things they didn't fully appreciate at the time. Sometimes clarity only arrives after space has been created, after emotions settle, after time has allowed people to process what truly happened. And this combination of energies suggests that the connection with you may have played a significant role in shaping that new perspective. So what we're seeing here is someone who may have gained a deeper understanding of the connection after it shifted. There may be realizations about effort, about growth, and about the way the relationship changed them. But even with those realizations, something may still be holding them back from taking action. So let's take a look at what may be stopping this person from reaching out to you right now. The first card we have here is the Lovers. The Lovers is a very powerful card when it appears in a position like this, because it represents meaningful connections, but it also represents choices, sometimes difficult choices, sometimes choices that carry emotional consequences. So one of the reasons this person may not be reaching out right now is because the connection itself carries significance. It's not something casual for them. When someone feels that a connection matters deeply, reaching out can suddenly feel much bigger. It's no longer just sending a message. It becomes reopening a chapter, revisiting emotions, facing what might come next. The Lovers can sometimes show that someone knows that reconnecting would require honesty, vulnerability, and possibly making important decisions about the future, and that level of emotional weight can make someone hesitate. Now we clarify this with the Three of Pentacles. This card has already appeared earlier in the reading, which reinforces its message. The Three of Pentacles speaks about cooperation, participation, two people working together. So what may be stopping this person is the awareness that reconnecting would require genuine effort, not just a quick conversation, but a willingness to rebuild understanding, to communicate differently, to approach the connection in a more mature way. Sometimes people hesitate because they're unsure whether they are ready to participate in that kind of emotional rebuilding, because relationships require presence, effort, and consistency. And if someone feels uncertain about whether they can fully show up in that way, they may hold themselves back. We also have the Fool energy appearing here. The Fool represents new beginnings, but it also represents stepping into the unknown, taking a leap, trusting something without knowing exactly how it will unfold. So another reason this person may not be reaching out right now is because reconnecting with you feels like stepping into uncertain territory. They may not know how the conversation would go. They may not know how you feel now. They may not know whether reopening communication would lead to healing or more distance, and that uncertainty can make someone pause. The Fool invites courage, but not everyone feels ready to take that leap immediately. So what we're seeing here is someone who recognizes the importance of the connection, but also understands that reaching out could reopen emotions and decisions they're not fully prepared to face yet. So the connection itself carries meaning, and that may be part of what makes this situation complicated for them. But when someone thinks about another person repeatedly, it's often because their mind continues to imagine different possibilities, different outcomes, different paths things could have taken. So let's go a little deeper and see what this person imagines when they think about you. The first card we have here is the Eight of Pentacles. The Eight of Pentacles is a card of dedication, effort, working toward improvement. So when this person thinks about you, part of what they imagine is the possibility of doing things differently, of putting in more effort, of approaching the connection with a greater level of focus and maturity. The Eight of Pentacles often appears when someone begins to think about growth, learning from past experiences, and recognizing the value of investing energy into something meaningful. So, one of the things that may cross their mind when they think about you is the idea of what the connection could look like if both people approached it with more awareness, more effort, more intention. Sometimes people replay relationships in their mind and imagine how things might unfold if certain lessons had already been learned, if communication was clearer, if timing was different. The Eight of Pentacles reflects that kind of thoughtful reflection. Now Now we clarify this with the Father of Swords. In traditional tarot, the Father of Swords corresponds to the King of Swords. The King of Swords represents clarity, honesty, and emotional maturity when it comes to communication. So when this person thinks about you, they may also imagine conversations that are more open and truthful. Discussions where both people speak honestly about what they feel and what they need. Sometimes, when people reflect on past connections, they imagine how things might have unfolded if certain conversations had been handled with greater understanding, with more calm, more clarity. And the King of Swords energy suggests that part of what they imagine is approaching the connection from a wiser place, a place where emotions and logic can work together instead of against each other. We also have the intensity energy appearing here. This energy speaks about focus, passion, and powerful emotional attention. So when this person thinks about you, it's not a passing thought. It's not something that appears briefly and disappears. The energy here suggests that when you come into their mind, their attention becomes quite focused. They may find themselves replaying specific moments, specific conversations, or imagining different versions of how things might have unfolded. Intensity can also represent the emotional depth that existed within the connection, the kind of connection that leaves a strong imprint, one that continues to occupy mental and emotional space long after the relationship has shifted. So what this spread suggests is that when they think about you, their mind may naturally move toward reflection, toward imagining different possibilities, toward wondering how things might look if the connection had evolved in a different way. So, their thoughts about you seem to carry reflection and imagination, but reflection can sometimes lead to deeper realizations, moments where someone finally admits something to themselves that they may have avoided before. So let's take a look at the truth this person may finally be admitting to themselves about this connection. The first card we have here is the Empress. The Empress is a very powerful energy when it appears in a position like this, because the Empress represents appreciation, nurturing emotional abundance, and recognizing the value of someone's presence. So one of the truths this person may finally be admitting to themselves is just how much your presence meant to them. The Empress often represents someone who brings warmth into another person's life, someone who creates a sense of comfort, support, understanding, and sometimes people only fully realize the impact of that kind of presence after distance has already happened, after the connection is no longer part of their everyday life. They may begin to recognize how much emotional stability or encouragement you brought into the relationship. The Empress energy often reflects someone who made another person feel cared for, seen, understood, and that kind of emotional environment is not something people forget easily. Now we clarify this with the Chariot. The Chariot represents direction, movement, and determination. So another truth that may be emerging for this person is the recognition that the connection with you had the potential to move forward in a meaningful way, that it could have grown into something stronger if circumstances had aligned differently. Sometimes people look back on a relationship and realize that there was real potential there. Potential for growth, for partnership, for building something that could have moved forward with strength and commitment. The Chariot suggests that this person may be acknowledging that the connection had direction, that it wasn't simply something casual or temporary, but something that had the possibility of becoming significant. We also have the dream energy appearing here. This energy often speaks about idealization, memories that take on a softer glow over time, moments that live in someone's imagination. When people reflect on past connections, especially meaningful ones, their mind sometimes turns those memories into something almost dreamlike. They remember the feeling, the atmosphere, the emotional impact, and the dream energy suggests that when this person thinks about you, part of the connection may live in that reflective space, a place where they revisit memories and wonder about what might have been. So the truth they may be admitting to themselves is that the connection with you was not ordinary. It carried emotional depth, it carried potential, and it may still occupy a meaningful place in their inner world. So we can see that reflection and realization have been part of their inner process. Memories, feelings, and new perspectives may all be emerging as they think back on the connection. But the final question we want to explore is where their energy may be moving now. So let's take a look at where this person's energy may be heading next when it comes to you and this connection. The first card we have here is the Six of Wands. The Six of Wands often represents recognition, confidence, and the desire to move forward with a sense of purpose. So when we look at where this person's energy may be heading next, there is an indication that they may be gaining more clarity about their feelings and their perspective on the connection. Sometimes after a long period of reflection, people begin to understand what the connection meant to them. They begin to see it more clearly. The Six of Wands can represent that moment where someone acknowledges something internally, where they stop avoiding the truth of how they feel. This card can also represent someone wanting to feel proud of the choices they make moving forward, wanting to approach situations with more confidence and honesty than they may have in the past. Now we clarify this with the Magician. The Magician is a very powerful card because it represents personal power, action, and the ability to create change. So one possibility here is that this person may be moving toward a mindset where they feel more capable of taking responsibility for their actions or making different choices moving forward. The Magician often appears when someone begins to understand that they have more control over their circumstances than they previously believed. Instead of feeling stuck in past situations, they begin to realize that new actions can create new outcomes. So, energetically, this suggests movement toward greater awareness and personal agency. A willingness to approach life and possibly relationships in a more conscious way. And we also have the Change energy appearing here. This card reinforces the idea that something within this person's perspective may be shifting. Change does not always happen suddenly. Sometimes it happens slowly, through reflection, through realization, through emotional growth. But the presence of this energy suggests that this person is not exactly the same as they were before. The experiences surrounding this connection may have contributed to that change. They may be seeing things differently, thinking differently, and approaching their emotional world with a new level of awareness. So where their energy may be heading next seems to involve growth, clarity, and the potential for personal transformation. So throughout this reading, we've explored the memories, emotions, and reflections that still seem to connect this person to you. But now let's shift the focus slightly, because while it can be helpful to understand someone else's thoughts and feelings, The most important guidance is often about what you need to know moving forward. So let's take a moment to see what message your angels may have for you regarding this connection. The first guidance coming through is the crumbling, and the question attached to this card is very powerful. What are you clinging on to? This card often appears when something in our life is beginning to shift or break down in order to create space for something new. Sometimes we hold on to certain expectations, certain stories, certain ideas about how things were supposed to unfold. And when those expectations don't materialize in the way we imagined, it can be difficult to release them. But the crumbling reminds us that when something begins to fall away, it is not always destruction. Sometimes it is clearing. Sometimes it is the universe removing structures that were no longer aligned with our growth. So your angels may be inviting you to reflect gently on whether there is something you are still holding on to in this situation. An expectation, a hope, a version of the connection that once existed. Because releasing something does not mean that the experience had no value. It simply means you are allowing life to move forward in a way that supports your highest path. The next message we have is, a chance encounter will bring you great fortune. This is a beautiful reminder that life often moves in unexpected ways. Sometimes we become so focused on one connection or one chapter of our life that we forget how many possibilities still exist ahead. This card suggests that new opportunities, new meetings, or new experiences may appear in ways you did not anticipate. Chance encounters can come in many forms: a new conversation, a new connection, a new direction that suddenly appears at the right time. And often these moments arrive when we are simply living our lives, open to what comes next. So this message encourages you to remain open to new experiences, open to new people, open to the unexpected ways that life can bring growth and opportunity. The final guidance card we have is Child. This message speaks about caring for the inner child within you, the part of yourself that still needs kindness, attention, and emotional care. Sometimes when we go through intense emotional experiences, we forget to nurture ourselves in the same way we would nurture someone we love. The child energy reminds you that your own emotional world deserves that same level of care. Your inner child may need gentleness, rest, creativity, moments of joy that have nothing to do with past connections or future worries. And for some of you, this card may also reflect your natural ability to care for others, your warmth, your compassion, your nurturing energy. But your angels are reminding you that the love you give to others should also be given to yourself. Your own heart deserves that same attention. Those are your messages for today. Let me know in the comments. Did any part of this reading resonate with your situation? And if this reading spoke to you, you're welcome to subscribe for more readings like this. I'll see you in my next reading.